if I were teaching paddle boards at a resort course, or teaching it to kids or anybody else with no experience at all, we might not stand up until 20 minutes in. I'm mostly connected with water half a year, whether it's salt water, fresh water, and I'm in a lot of places where I get to see people experimenting with stand-up paddle boards, and I encourage it. I even watch the resorts do the instruction. The funny thing for me is everybody always starts on the board standing because that's the way it looks coolest. But I literally apply what I practice developmentally even in something like this. You can work on your canoeing, your kayaking, and your swimming skills as well. You're gonna fall off the board. So let's go ahead and jump in the water first. And a lot of instructors who really put learning first will get you to go ahead and jump in the water first. Once that's done, I'm really more interested in forward propulsion of the board because that'll save your life. So if we take the paddle and just make it a non-issue, and I just lay down here, I've got myself a prone paddleboard. And I could go a pretty good ways doing that if I wanted to. But before I go standing, I could easily come to tall kneeling, and I could basically shorten up my stroke and paddle on both sides. Now I get into trouble when I go half kneeling, and I get into trouble with chops and lifts too, but I paddle on both sides, and you're always gonna have a better side. But part of your paddleboard warm-up should have about 10 minutes dedicated to each of these positions, because you're gonna work yourself a little bit different each way. So what's the warm-up for the person who's experienced is actually the best workout to get to standing in the first place, because most people are so worried about balancing on the board, they have an inefficient or stiff stroke. And down here with a good base, I can learn to find my limits and find my power. And ultimately, when you stand up, you just need to know where the center point of the board is. And go ahead and realize it's not a boat dock. And so you're gonna reach forward and use way more deadlifting than you think. Because if I'm reaching the paddle out, I put as much weight behind me as I can, I lower my center, and I grab the stability. So if I were teaching paddle boards at a resort course, or teaching it to kids or anybody else with no experience at all, we might not stand up until 20 minutes in. And when we did, most people would enjoy the experience and get bitten by this perspective, because standing on water is an unbelievable perspective. But if you start standing, you won't have earned the right to stand up. And I think that makes sense to all of us. So the lesson we have to do is, all those paddleboard instructors that are starting people standing early, isn't that a lot like us starting people with swings before they can deadlift, or single leg deadlift, giving people presses before they can do get-ups, giving people flexibility programs when if they just practiced a sun salutation, it might work better. So if we can see the flaw in starting a paddleboard experience standing, I think we can see the flaw in a lot of the different workouts that we prescribe for people, because we're trying to get them to the thing and not putting them on the path to the thing. So paddling in every possible position you can is not only a good safety lesson, it is a developmental lesson toward vertical.